What is a recession? When a region's economy contracts over several months or even years, a recession occurs. The region's gross domestic product, GDP, or the sum of the value of the goods and services it produces, declines during these times. At the same time, sudden changes in the cost of commodities like gas or oil are possible. Industries that were once prosperous could suddenly lose value. It's possible for consumers to experience higher than average inflation or unemployment rates. As a result, consumer confidence declines as well, which may lead to consumers being less ready to spend money than usual. In 2008, for example, Americans experienced a significant recession following the sudden collapse of the U.S. housing market. More recently, the COVID-19/coronavirus pandemic caused major losses in daily business and employment across multiple industries, including hospitality, retail, and tourism. As a result, the U.S. faced a short recession during the early months of 2020. In this video, we talk about on what is recession, what happens in a recession, how a recession may affect you, and how to prepare for a recession. So before we get started, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for our future updates. What happens in a recession? During periods of recession, companies make fewer sales, and economic growth stalls or becomes non-existent. Large percentages of personnel may need to be let go by organizations to reduce expenses, which will lead to widespread unemployment. At the same time, recruiting slows down, making it challenging for those who have just lost their jobs to obtain new employment. Retirement and other savings accounts may suffer because investments like stocks and real estate frequently experience financial losses. Lenders can tighten their lending standards in response to the rising financial unpredictability, making it considerably harder for customers to be approved for new credit accounts. How a recession may affect you. Whether an economic downturn has officially been declared a recession or not, the impacts of an impending recession can affect your daily life. Cost of living increases. When inflation contributes to a recession, you may find that household essentials like groceries, gasoline, and clothes are more expensive than they used to be. Higher prices make it harder to make ends meet, so individuals often turn to strict budgets and cuts in discretionary spending. Job loss or reduction in hours. In a recession, companies often reduce their staffing levels to save money. You may risk losing your job or experiencing a reduction in hours. Difficulty finding employment. For a while now, workers have controlled the employment market. They could secure new roles with higher salaries and more perks as employers competed for a limited pool of workers. During a recession, that's likely to change, with competition for the few opening roles tougher and the ability to find a new job taking significantly longer. Recessions are common. They happen every few years after the economy reaches its peak. Although it can be scary if you haven't experienced one before, you can get through most economic changes by taking steps like planning, saving, and reducing your spending. The first inkling of a recession may appear in manufacturing job numbers. This is because manufacturers receive orders months in advance, and when manufacturing orders decline, so do factory jobs. Those who have lost their jobs cut back on spending, and this affects other sectors of the economy. When consumer demand falls, businesses stop hiring, unemployment rises, and consumer spending drops even further. It is at this point that some businesses start filing for bankruptcy, while some households default on mortgage payments. A recession also negatively impacts recent college graduates who can't find a decent job. We conclude that periods of economic recession are possibly associated with a higher prevalence of mental health problems, including common mental disorders, substance disorders, and ultimately suicidal behavior. Any economy will always experience recessions, but by foreseeing difficulties in advance and making plans for the future, you can weather the storm. How can recession affect on our mental health? People who suffered a financial, housing-related, or job-related hardship as a result of the Great Recession were more likely to show increases in symptoms of depression, anxiety, and problematic drug use. The research findings reveal declines in mental health that were still evident several years after the official end of the recession. The links between unemployment and poor mental health have been explained through the psychological effects of unemployment, such as stigma, isolation, and loss of self-worth, and the material consequences of a reduced income. Unemployed individuals, particularly the long-term unemployed, have a higher risk of poor mental health compared with those in employment. Who is most affected? The current economic crisis is increasing poverty and will impact people on low incomes and vulnerable groups the most, including children, young people, single-parent families, unemployed people, ethnic minorities, migrants, and older people. Is not knowing what comes next and when things will get better. That's why it's important to be clear about where you stand financially. Ask yourself these key questions as you take stock of your financial situation. How much cash do I have on hand? How much cash can I get my hands on quickly if I need it? How much debt do I currently have? Credit cards, student loans, etc.? What are my basic monthly living expenses, including food, shelter, health insurance, transportation, and childcare? Do you have any major life events coming up with significant expenses attached, for example, weddings, a baby, or retirement? Now is the time to understand what you're spending today and to anticipate your needs over the next 6 months. If you're well prepared for a recession, a job loss, or other financial hurdle, you'll have an emergency fund that covers 3 to 6 months of living expenses and hopefully a healthy nest egg for retirement. If you don't have at least 3 to 6 months of basic expenses in cash, then set that as your financial goal. Start by developing a basic understanding of how you are spending your money and building a budget. To start building a budget, figure out your total household income from all sources, including you, your spouse/partner, and any side hustles that bring cash into the household. You should also include income from investments and any other sources, such as child support. Next, list your monthly expenses, including your rent or mortgage payments, utilities, groceries, pharmaceutical and medical needs, child care costs, home and auto maintenance, debt payments, and insurance premiums, as well as any other regular expenses, including those you only pay annually. Add everything up to understand whether you're spending more, less, or roughly the same as your take-home pay each month. Finally, prioritize your essential expenses and make sure you identify the minimum you can spend in a given month to get by, just in case you or your spouse/partner experiences a job loss. Your budget may need to adapt in preparation for a recession, and that's okay. Try to cut down on non-essential spendings like entertainment, cable, and clothing. While it's unrealistic to think you can cut out all discretionary spending, it's important to separate wants and needs. Look for areas where you may have overspent. Try to figure out why that happened. You might not have extra money right now to put towards your retirement or a down payment, which is all right for the short term. Once you get in the habit of reviewing your finances and looking for problem areas, you're off to a great start. Number 2, focus on debt repayment if you're able. You might be worried about paying off outstanding debts in the coming months, like credit card bills, utilities, or student loans. If you experience a loss of income, you might have to forego paying one or more of these bills, so it's important to understand which bills you need to pay. After all, if you lose income, you may not be able to pay every bill on time or in full every month, and that will have a direct impact on your credit scores. Normally, it's important to do whatever you can to keep your credit scores intact, but during a recession that may not be possible. Therefore, you should prioritize how you pay your bills, so your available cash covers as many debts as you're able. Make sure you pay your rent or mortgage on time and in full. You don't want to face foreclosure or eviction. Make your car payment, especially if you need a car to get to work. If you're facing an income reduction, contact your student debt lender and ask for a hardship application, which may buy you a few months where you don't have to make a payment. Make at least your minimum payment on your credit card. If that's not possible, contact your credit card company and try to work out a payment plan. Just know that the creditor will likely freeze your accounts, which will prohibit you from making additional purchases with the card. Continue to keep up with your medical debts if you can, however, do so after other debts are met first. If your health insurance is offered through your employer, you will continue to receive health insurance coverage even if your medical bills mount. If you buy your own health insurance, whether you're self-employed or for any other reason, be sure you pay your premium on time so your policy isn't canceled. Remember, if you're falling behind, Reach out to your creditors and ask for hardship concessions. This might include making interest-only payments on your debt or putting payments into forbearance. You can also check out your local bank or credit union for a personal loan. There are online lenders as well, and your employer may offer a short-term loan program in times of trouble. If you're making your payments on time, you can also ask your credit card company or any other lender about lowering your interest rates. A significant number of major utility providers offer programs that might allow you to pay your bills at a later date or provide other hardship assistance. You'll never know what agreement you and your creditor can reach if you don't ask. Number 3. Consider your career opportunities, both now and in the future. Recessions often result in high levels of unemployment, so it's important to consider how tough economic times could affect your career and have a backup plan should you face a layoff. Start by refreshing connections within your professional network. Be sure to consider not only your coworkers but also any connections you have outside of your current employer. Having established relationships at a variety of organizations can give you a huge leg up in the job market. You might consider reaching out to your network via social media or offering to meet up in person for coffee. It may also help to update your resume and other job hunting tools ahead of time. As you review your past work experience, look for any gaps. Are there places where you could pursue continuing education or additional training? Expanding your skill set is one of the best ways to invest in yourself as an employee. This is true even if you're able to keep your position during a recession. For some workers worried about a layoff, it may be beneficial to pick up a side gig such as freelancing or working for a rideshare application. Having an extra stream of income can not only help in the event of a layoff, but can make it easier to build your emergency savings while you're still employed. Number 4. Try to bolster your emergency fund ahead of time. Even if job losses or layoffs are imminent, put as much money as you can into your emergency fund. When the income stops coming in, you'll need every last piece of it. Give up everything extra, even delivery and takeout. Losing your work or having to live on a lower wage certainly qualifies as a solid reason to utilize part of the money you've saved, though it's never a choice you should make lightly. However, as soon as your financial condition improves, it's critical to replenish your emergency money. If not, you might be forced to make difficult choices like taking money out of your retirement account or applying for a home equity line of credit when the next emergency arises. Number 5. Make an effort to stay on top of your financial situation. Even though a recession may be a challenging period, the greatest thing you can do is start proactively preparing for it now. You can rely on Equifax for trustworthy information on important subjects to help you manage your money during these trying times. Financial literacy is crucial now more than ever, so you can feel confident about your financial situation, no matter what obstacles lie ahead. An extended period of economic contraction is referred to as a recession. Try to accumulate an emergency fund that can cover 3 to 6 months of living expenses to help you be ready for a recession, job loss, or other financial challenge. Reach out to your creditors if you're having trouble making your debt payments and request hardship concessions. To conclude, the Great Recession is a loss for the economy in many different aspects, such as high unemployment and a burst of the housing bubble. After the job loss, families' income has decreased, and it is followed with the increase in poverty. More than that, the recession left the country with a lot of debts that even today the country is still trying to pay. If the government would have acted differently and have more attention in a housing bubble collapse, the economy today would have been better, and the country would not have that much debt as well. Some of the things that could have been done are: first, focus on the increase of unemployment. Also, keep the taxes and loans that people were getting in an equal level. And finally, people with low credit score taxes and mortgage rate for their properties should have been progressive. That brings us to the end of this video. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for our future updates. Thank you for watching.